Hey, GAP Math students, this is a video for data probability and stats objectives 116 through 119. So you're going to need your packet. If you don't have your packet, hit pause, go get that. And then you will turn to this page in that packet. So if you look at what we're going to look at in this one is frequency distributions and line plots. So you may know what that is, may not. Bar graphs, you've seen that. Scatter plots, that would be like this down here. And a histogram, which is basically like a bar graph. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So I think this section of notes and a test will be a little easier than the last one. We do have some problems to go through here, though. They're just different types of problems. I wouldn't say they're really hard or a lot to learn. So let's get started here. We're gonna, I think, more or less just go in order instead of bouncing around like we did on the last one. So number one here, it says which scatter plot shows a moderate negative relationship. So first of all, I'm just gonna go through and talk about what each one of these are and give examples, and then we'll actually find our real answer pretty early, but I also just want to explain what each of these would be called. So the first one, so again, just to do my definition, if you remember, that's the y-axis, that's the x-axis. This is going to be called, if we look at this pattern, y goes down as x goes up. Okay, so as so what's happening here is y tends to decrease as x increases. If that happens, that is a negative relationship, or what they call correlation. Okay. So I think I'm going to redraw that just because I covered up some of the words there. So if as x goes up or goes right, y goes down, that's a negative relationship or correlation. Now the question here asked a moderate negative relationship. Well, if we look at our choices, the other ones, this one, and we'll talk about this in a second, y goes up as x increases. Same here. And here there's no real pattern. So the only one that is a negative correlation or relationship is A. So this is going to be our answer, but I want to use this problem to talk about these other ones here. So what happens here, okay, y tends to increase or go up as x increases. Or as one gets bigger, the other gets bigger. Here it's opposite. If as one gets bigger, the other gets smaller, y goes down. Okay. Or you could think of it as from left to right, it goes down as negative. From here, left to right, it goes up. Okay. So this is a positive relationship or correlation. Again, if my handwriting is too sloppy, listen, hit pause. You'll be able to figure out what it says. Okay. Now, the difference between this one and this one, this is also positive correlation because as X goes up, so does Y. But the difference is the dots are much closer together here than up here. So the closer the dots are to making a line, the stronger the relationship or the correlation. There'll be a couple questions later that'll talk about this. Okay, so this is strong. This is, I would say, moderate. You could have weak even if they were farther apart. So that's why this is moderate. And that's what the answer was looking for. Okay, if we wanted to find a weak, or even if they were farther apart than this, but there was still a pattern, that would be like a weak relationship. Now here, this is just no clear relationship. Or they could say no correlation. Okay, there's nothing, sometimes when X is small, Y is small, or X is small, Y is high, and they're just kind of all over the place. So there's no strong correlation. So these notes here will come into play in some of the future problems. Okay, so we'll bounce back to those eventually. Next page. Now some of these problems are going to have like no work to do, and some of them will have a little work to do. Okay, so this one we have a little bit of work to do, but again, it's not hard. That's just going to take some time to set up, and we have to look at all the data and record things. So here it says the golf scores of 22 members, the country club, and then they list them scores. It says make a histogram using 10-point intervals that shows the frequency distribution of the scores. So you can find your distribution here. If you look at all the answers, they go from 70 to 80, 80 to 90, and so on. What technically you might want to write 70 to 80, 80 to 90, but those aren't actually 10 points. If you count out 70 to 80 and count both 70 and 80, that's actually 11. So if you started at 70, you'd go to 79, and that would be a 10-point interval. Then we would start at 80 to 89. Then it would be 90 to 99. Then it would be 100 to 109. And then it would be 110 to 119. If there was an actual 120, we'd have to start a new chart, but there's not. Okay, so then what we need to do is kind of make a little so what we're making here is a frequency distribution, meaning we're going to tally these up, figure out how much is in each. Okay, so what you get, and this is the part that takes a little time. You got to go through. You got to go 99 would go here, and then cross it out. 105 would go in that group. 71 goes here. 84 goes here. 112. 113. 78. 106. 87. 91. 93, 89, and then cross them off as I go so I know which ones I've done. 102, 75, pretty even so far. 97, 74, 88, 96. Now, remember when you do tallies, I got to put another one here. Don't just put a next line. You want to group them in 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a line either diagonally this direction or the other direction. Doesn't matter. 87. Same thing here. Just makes it easier to count than 82. 93. And a 91. Okay, so let's count these up. And what I'm going to write over here is just the number of each. So there's 4 in this group. 6, 7, 3, and 2. Now I'm pretty confident we got everything up here, but the other thing you could do is it says there's 22. So 4 and 6 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 3 is 20, plus 2 is 22. Now what you need to do is just figure out which one of these answers matches this data. Okay, so 70 to 79 says 4. So that's okay. Letter B. This one is at 5. So if we're confident we did our chart, our distribution correct, we can cross out B. Because that has, we don't even have to check the other ones. 70 to 79, we have 4, and this says 5. So that's out. Okay. Same thing here. This has 5, so that's out. Look at down here. This has 3, so that doesn't have 4, so that's out. So if you're really confident, we could say A is our answer. Now you just might want to double check. So this was at 4. This says 6. Yep, that's 6. 7, one higher. Yep. This is at 3. And this is at 2. And we're good. Okay. So that one took a little bit of time. Nothing too bad though. Okay. And you get the correct answer. Number 3 won't take as long. It's more or less, I'm not even going to do the whole problem. I'm going to give you a hint. Some of these I'm just going to get you started, and you're going to find the answer and check the answers in the end of the section. So scores of 27 people golf Saturday at the city golf course represented. How many golfers scored between 90 and 109? So 90 to 99, 100 to 109. So what you got to do is take this box and this box. So you got to go over, find out how many are in this one, find out how many are in this one, and add those two together and get your answer. Okay. Again, do that problem, check it in the back. If you're not getting the right answer, that's when you write me and let me know, and we'll make sure you get the right answer. Okay. Here, again, I'm just going to give you a hint here. It says how many students were interviewed. So they're talking about, they're doing a bar graph, favorite subjects. So each subject's here, number of students that answered are here. So if we add these all up, you will find out how many students. And the only one that's really, you just got to be careful. This is right at a line. So, that's 6. This is at 12. You just got to know what your scale is over here, 14 and 16. So that's in between. So in between there is 15. Same thing here. In between those two, that's a 9. Okay, so I did most of that problem for you. All you have to do now is add those up, find your answer. Check it and make sure you get the right answer. And if you're not, let me know. Okay. Again, another hint of one. Number 5. This is a line plot. It's kind of like a bar graph, but there's just no scale over here. It says shows the number of books read in a year by Sanders Elementary School students. Each X represents one student. How many students read 10 or fewer books. So the key here is understanding this number down here is not the students. Okay, this represents number of books. Okay, the X equals 1 student. Okay, so like 19 books, 1, 2, 3, 4 people read that. Now the question here is how many students read 10 or fewer books? So you always got to read the question. Sometimes there's a difference between saying how many students read fewer than 10 books and how many students read 10 or fewer books. So 10 or fewer includes 10. So what you got to do, it's everything over this way. So all you're going to do, again, I'm just going to give you a hint. This would represent all the people that read 10 or fewer. You just got to count up the X's, find the answer. Again, check it in the back at the end of the section. If you're not getting the right answer, let me know. Okay, so not too bad there. Again, just because I mentioned the difference, if it said fewer than 10 books, then you would only include 9 and under. But 10 or fewer includes the 10. Okay. All right, number 6. You just have to find which scatter plot represents this data. Okay, so again, I'm not going to do this whole thing for you. I'm going to start it for you, and you can figure out which answer you should have. So what you want to do is just go through one by one and see if you can eliminate one of these. So 1992 has 51. So here, 1992, well, it's over 60. Okay, so that's not right. So this answer is gone. Okay, 1992. If this is 55, 54, 53, 52, 51, 50. So this says 50. Okay. So this one is gone. Now, this is 51. So this one could be correct. A and B are out just based on 1992. Okay. So now what you need to do, if there wasn't a choice D, this would be the answer. You just need to keep going and check these other dates until you can either confirm all these are correct, or if one of these are wrong, then the answer would be D. So continue that. Check your answer at the end of the section. Again, ask me if you're getting something wrong. Okay. This one's, I'm not going to do the whole problem. It says the pulse rates of the students before physical education class are recorded in the table. How many students had a pulse rate lower than 72? So this is what I was talking about. In this one, you do not count 72. You would put the line right here and looking at everything lower. So you would just count up how many students are lower than 72. So that one should be really easy. There's only 2 numbers here. Add them up, find the answer. And actually, well, let's just do that one because that one's that easy. You have 1 student with a 68, 2 students with a 71. There's 3. Okay. So next problem. This one I'm not going to do. This one's a lot like number 3. So if you're going to read this one, try this one on your own. Check your answer. Okay. The next one. This one's probably the one we got to do. I wouldn't say the most work, but we got to be really careful on our work. Okay. What we're going to do, it says the table shows a relationship between the time a student spends practicing typing each week and his percent improvement on speed assessment. So if they practice 6 hours, this one person practiced 6, they had a 26% improvement. This person practiced 8, they had a 21% improvement. 10 hours practice, 35% improvement, and so on. It says on graph paper, make a scatter plot of percent improvement versus practice hours, and then draw a line of best fit. using the line of best fit, estimate what percent of improvement would be expected if the number of practice hours was 5 hours. So I didn't give you graph paper. You could get graph paper if you want, or use notebook paper, might help a little bit better. But I'm going to show you that you can do this using this paper. Okay, so I'm going to do this below. I'll have to kind of look back and forth. And it's definitely going to be harder for me because I can't use a straight edge on. Maybe I can. Let me see if I can actually use a straight edge on this pad. Might be kind of difficult. I'll give it a try. Okay, so right here. Okay, so I'm using a line there. Nope. Let me start over. Okay, so not too bad. Okay, same thing on yours. See what you can do. See if we can release that well. Okay. All right. So we make a, if you have line paper, that'd be easier. So now what we need to do is down here, generally anything dealing with time goes on the x-axis, and what relates to the time would go on the y. Okay, so now the hours, if we look at our chart, they range from 6 to 18. So I'm just going to go from 0 to 20. Okay, so I'm going to, now what I need to do is, now this is the part that's important, you need to try to be the same distance. This doesn't have to be exact. So I'm going to go by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, now I don't know, again, if you wanted to be really exact, you can measure. I just want to be pretty close. If you can do this pretty close, you're going to be fine. Okay, now the percent improvements, they go from 21 to 60. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to go by tens, and I'm just going to start at maybe just even go up to 100. So 10. Actually, I'm going to go make those. That's fine. 40. Maybe I won't get to 100, but $70. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70. Okay, now we need to plot the points. So this will be a little annoying, but 6 and 26. So 6. So here's 20. 25 is halfway, so I'm going to go just a little bit there. Okay. And then the next one, 8 to 21. So 8, there's 20, just a little bit above that. 21. 10, 35. So 10, here's 30, halfway. No, again, this is why graph paper would be a lot better, or even line paper. 12 and 38. So this was 35, so I gotta go a little bit there above that, but below the 40. 1430. So that's the same as the 12, but they've spent 2 more hours and got the same score. That happens. Not everyone is the same. Okay, 16 and 50. 16, 50. Let's say 18 and 60. Yep, 18 and 60. Now what we need to do now is draw what's called a line of best fit, which means you want to make a line where you balance out your dots. So we wouldn't want to draw a line here because then you'd have all the dots above. We wouldn't want to draw here, then you'd have all the dots below. Okay, so what we want to do, kind of go through here. Now this will be hard for me on, oh, let me see if I can do this with some sort of straight edge here. Okay, now I want to go here. Nope, that's not good. I want to get right about let's see if I don't know if I can undo that. Shoot. Just erase my whole line here, which I'm going to do it by hand, even though I had it really good. Okay. Oh, I'm having some problems. I should probably just do it by hand. I'm trying to use a straight edge on my try there. Let's try this and see. It's okay. I could have probably had it a little farther up, but let's try that and see. Now, what they ask now, I could have probably continued the line a little farther this way and that way. It says, estimate what percent improvement would be expected if the number of practice hours was 5 hours. So if you practice 5, you go up to your line and then go over. Where would it be there? So that looks like mine, maybe an 18. So you got to think of what would be closer here. 18 closer to 16 or 22. And I think even with this line, if I were to move it up a little bit, it would even come down a little lower. So I think 16 is going to be your best answer. Okay, again, line paper is best. Graph paper is best. Line paper is even better. But you can see we did a pretty good job here if you're careful on what it should be. Okay. So that's probably the one that takes the most time. Number 10, I think the rest are going to go pretty quick. It says retirement ages of group of police detectives are recorded in the following table. Which of the following is the correct relative frequency histogram for the data shown? So a couple things. Now the answers are on the next page here, but they want the relative frequency, which you don't even need to know what that means. Basically what it means is percent of the total. So this would be about 5% of the total, about 21%, about 32% of the total. So if we look at the next page, they're worried about relative frequency. So we're going to have our different ranges here, which they all do. They have 50, 52, and so on. But as you can see, these numbers look like what we're dealing with, the relative frequency. This one has just a regular frequency, but it's labeled relative frequency. That one's out. It's not dealing with relative frequency. So we're going to look at these two or a none. Okay, so now you just go one by one. 50 to 52 should be at a 0.053. Okay, well, 50 to 52, this looks like that would be a little, if that's 0.01, 0.01, and this is supposed to be 0.053. If we take a look here, they don't seem to match up with what we're seeing here. So let's take a look here. Oh, there's a misprint here. Okay, that's why I was thinking there's going to be no solution. Now this, you would have an argument here if this should read 0.105. Because otherwise the scale doesn't match because they're going up about 0.1s here. That should be 0.105, same thing here. So they made a little mistake. So let's assume that's 0.105. Then this would make sense that that's about 0.053, same here. Okay, so both of those work for the 50, 52. 53 to 55, 0.211, 0.211, 0.211. So they're both working. Now, 56, 58, and 59, 61 also both have 0.211. So yes, yes, no. This one goes higher than it. So this one is out. So now we just need to confirm this last part. 62 to 64 should be at 0.316. 0.316. That is correct. Okay. All right. So let's go. Next page. It says the bar graph shows the average lifespan of several animals. About how many years longer is the average lifespan of a gorilla than the average lifespan of a grizzly bear? Now, they use the term about because it's hard. It might be hard to get exact. So we need to find the gorilla. It's right here, and we go down. So this is 40, 50. So this would be 45. So you're looking at 42, 43. So let's call it 43. We want to know how much more that is than the grizzly bear. Grizzly bear, that looks to be exactly right in here. There's 20, here's 30, so that's got to be 25. So how much more? You subtract, you get 18. Now, even if you estimated this one to be 42 instead of 43, 42 minus 25 is 17. It's still going to be closest to that answer. So that's why they say about. 12, I'm just going to give you a hint here. It says the results are displayed in double bar graph. Which music was most popular with men? So all you need to know here is make sure you're only looking at the white blocks that represent men, and you're just looking at which one's the highest, and then the answer is what type of music. So I'm not going to finish that one for you. You're going to do that one. Okay. Here, 13, the numbers below represent ages of players on a softball team. Which line plot shows the same data? So what this means is you can take it one number at a time, or you can look for trends. But like here, someone had someone was the age of 50. So for our answer, there has to be an X above 50, and there's only 150 in the list. So there needs to be one X above 50. So this is fine. This is fine. Oh, no X above 50. So C is out. Okay, X above 50, so we're good. And then you keep going doing that. So next one's 47. I'm going to look. There's a 147, 247. So our answer has to have 247s. Okay, now you could just make your own table over here and then see which one it matches, but I think this way works just fine. So there's over 47, there should be two X's, no more, no less. So there's 44, 45, 46, 47. Now I just said there should be two X's. Okay, there's only one. So this is out because there's only 147. We need 2. Here there was no 50. We need 1. Okay, so let's look at 47. So 45, 46, 40. There's 2 here, so that's okay. 45, 46, 47, 2 here, so we're okay. So now let's look at 46. There's 146, 246, 3 46s. So this one's already out here. 3 46s, we're good. 3 46s, we're good. So those 2 are still in the running. 53, there's 1, 2 53s. So here's 50, 51, 52. So the one right before 54. So again, we needed 2 53s. There's only 1. So this one's out. There's only 1 53. We need 2. And let's just make sure. Yep, there's 2 53s. 45. Yep, and we're good. Our answer is D. Okay, process of elimination. Here, which one accurately describes this? I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm going to tell you, look at notes for number 1. We talked about positive negative correlation on number 1. So you look there. Here again, just give you a hint. There's pulse rates. How many students had a pulse rate lower than 73? So again, don't count 73. You're here and going this way. So count the number of students in here. Okay. I think the last tricky one here is 16. It says the graph below shows the sales of various vehicles by one dealer for a month of March. Approximately what % more compacts were sold than trucks? So first of all, it doesn't say how many more, but let's figure this out first. Compacts, if we look here, there's 18. Trucks, we go here, down 12. So we just asked how many more, it would be 6, 18 minus 6. They want to know % more. Okay, so % more compacts and trucks. % change, this was last session. % change is the amount change over original amount. And that would give you the % as a decimal. % change as a decimal. Well, they want to know what % more compacts were sold than trucks. So that means you would start with the trucks and figure out how much more to get to the compacts. So if we did this, the original amount, we start with trucks. So it's kind of weird thinking that's the original amount. And then it's how much more to get to compacts. Well, the top is the amount change. We don't write 18, we write how much more is that? Well, 18 minus 12, that's 6 more. Okay, over the original 12 trucks that we have. That gives us 0.5. Now that's as a decimal, so we have to go 1, 2. That would be 50%. Okay, so a little tricky. If you get that one on the test, you may have to look at this problem a couple times on the video to kind of understand, but if you follow the same logic, then you would do the exact same, just different numbers. The only thing that could be different is if they asked approximately what % less of one than the other, then the bigger one would be the original amount. But here it says they want to know how much to get up to the next one, how much more. So you would start with the smaller one and go up to the one that had more. Okay, I think that's the main stuff. This one is like number 2, so we're not going to do this one. You can take a look at number 2. 18. Just make sure you're just really careful on this. They want to know for the interval from 1.5 to 3.5. So that's would be these 2 boxes here. You just got to be really careful looking over, and it can be kind of tough. Here's 15, 16, 17. This looks like one more. So then all you do is just go 17 plus 18. That's 35. Okay, number 19 here. Again, for this one, you're going to look at notes for number 1. Let's go back to number 1. Take a look at those notes. I think you'll be able to do, this one was, I forget which number, but there was a problem just like this that we did, figuring out which one of these match up. Number 21, it says, they give you this data. It says if the data were displayed on the scatter plot, could the correlation of data be represented by a linear model? If there is a linear correlation, that means would it form like close to a line? Is there a positive or negative correlation? So what you're going to do, we're not going to do this one. You're going to graph like we did number 6 or number 9, sorry. You're going to graph like number 9, but then the answer is going to be easier. We wouldn't have to draw that line to it and figure out the answer like we did for number 9. You're just going to figure out, is it positive correlation, negative correlation, or is there no correlation at all? Okay. Here, it says use the frequency distribution below, determine how many students received a score of 90 or better. So I'm not going to do this one for you, but you include 90 or better. Last page. You can do number 23, 24, same thing, 60 or better. So include 60 and up, count how many the frequency is for that. Okay. For the problems here, I'll circle the ones we did and put an H next to the ones I did hints for. So this was 5, we did a hint. 13, we did. 15, we did a hint. 24, we did a hint. 4, I gave you a hint. 11 and 16, I did. 1, I did. 6 was a hint. 9, we did. 2, we did. 3 was a hint. 10, we did. And 18, we did. Now, again, the purpose for this page is to show, like, if you're trying to do number 14, that's in this category of scatter plots, and you don't know how, you could look at 1, 9, or 6 and see if those help you do 14 at all. And then if you still can't get the right answer, that's when you ask. Okay, ask for help. Okay, so that one was still a little bit long, but not as bad as the last one. And also, I don't think it's as hard as the last one. So copy those notes, take time to practice some of the other problems, ask questions if you need help on anything, and then ask for the test when you are ready. Okay.